Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Hey, man.
2021. It's hard to believe it.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, yeah, seriously. Can you believe that we're in 2021 right now?
I literally can't believe it, but it's here.
It is here.
Exactly, man.
Well, last year around this time, actually, I think it was, we were already in the new year. I think it was around January 13th, if you want to go back and listen to a year-old episode. We're creating today our first annual regular thing that we do.
Yeah, right.
So a tradition. This is our first tradition.
Oh.
So we all went around and said what our word for the year was and what we wanted it to be. And last year was pretty interesting. We talked about that a couple episodes back on like at the end of last year, what if we felt like what it meant. 2020 was a crazy year, and hopefully 2021.
And we didn't know that
going ready.
Obviously, going in when we picked some of those, that was sort of the interesting part about it.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Ken or Brad, do you have something to say before we start? I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think last year my word was, just to remind everyone, was clarity. Boy, I like to forget that word from 2020. There's times during 2020 that I just wanted to like move into 2021 very quickly, and here we are. And my word this year is a new hope. And
it's a phrase, Brad.
Yes. Well, it's a word.
I have a phrase too. So.
Okay, hope. Wait, new hope. If you say it really fast, it's like one word. New hope.
Just say Star Wars.
Nope.
It's all good. I've got a phrase too.
It's nope. It stands for new hope.
So as opposed to non-new hope, old hope, but new hope, you want to explain that a little bit?
I think renewal would be a good word then. If I had to choose one word, it's renewal. I feel like it's time for renewal. I feel positive, optimistic, and man, it's 2021. I can't believe it.
What are you hoping that word, that stake in the ground that you're putting right now, what are you hoping it signifies? And when you look back at the end of the year, what are you hoping that new hope will mean to you?
I think for me, it's a personal word, as not just with my business, but I think it's more personal. I mean, to be honest with you, my personal word will definitely affect my business. So I just feel like in everything that we're going to do, there's going to be a renewal. And I think that, hope the economy does well this year. I think people with the vaccines will feel that sense of renewal, that they can get out and get moving, and business will, benefit from that. And I just, hopefully we can maybe, at least here in the United States, start feeling a little bit more bonded as Americans and not so divided this year. So there's a lot of things that I want to put that word on to renewal.
The good thing is we know we can bank on renewal happening once we're going through some sort of season, and it's kind of like part of what happens at the end of that. We don't know exactly when the end of it is, but renewal is going to come one way or another.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hopeful for
whether we
everybody,
like it or not.
Whether we like it or not. And I also think that there will always be winter, there will always be spring, summer, and I think there's that hope for everyone, hopefully too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully you can see that. I like that word. I like that phrase, actually.
Which one? Renewal?
All of them.
Or new hope? Yeah.
I like new hope.
I like new hope because
I like renewal.
To me, new hope is the word, but if you want one word, then renewal. But new hope is still my word.
I like your word. It's really good.
Yeah.
Mine is going to be a phrase. Ken, is that okay?
Yeah, well, maybe I've got a phrase too. So
well, if you have
I've got a word and a phrase.
Okay.
You guys can have a phrase. If I can, you can.
Thank you for giving us permission.
Sure, you're welcome.
Bob breaks rules anyway. Last year you picked two words.
Oh, that's right.
I think it's something about my brain or something. When someone says, think of a word, it's like either I'm rebelling against that or I can't just think of one. Yeah. I don't know which one. I can't figure it out.
I have the rule breaking in me too, so don't worry about it.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess I probably am too overthinking it, but for me, it's reimagine growth. As we were just talking about life and renewal, the thing that we have in common with all living things is growth, right? Like human beings, animals, insects, algae, trees, everything grows. And so for me in 2021, I want to reimagine what that growth looks like and feels like, both, as Brad said, in my personal life and in my business life. Because, there's passive growth. I've been thinking a lot about this. There's passive growth, like, you look at your child and they grow in front of your eyes and they're big and we grow. We age. As we get older, we see evidence of that. But there's also active growth, meaning I think as human beings, in our business, in our emotional state, our psychological state, it's like we've got to be active and a participant in that. And it won't be passive. And especially in our business world and our agency life we better not be passive. I think all of us have been involved in times in our lives where we can kind of rest and let just our success grow. But I think 2020 taught me that you can't just be passive and think, okay, this is the way things are going to be, and I've got a system, and I'm going to do things the way I've always done them. So for me, it's in my personal and business life, it's reimagine growth. What does growth look like for me in 21? I don't want it to look the same as it did last year and years past. And I don't want my business growth to look the same. I want to reimagine that, like rethink it. What does it look like to grow in a different way or a different area? And I want to continue doing that, on into I'm very old. And, that's one thing that I really respect about really, really old people that continue to be a quality of youthfulness about them is that they're always growing actively. I have a mother-in-law who's 95 years old, and her brain is just as active, probably more active than most young people I know. She's up on the latest what's happening. She's sharp. Her body's decaying, and she's, obviously she can't get around like she could, but she has that active growth about her. And I want to do that in 21. So I want to reimagine growth and what it could look like.
Since the beginning of when I've known you, you've always had that reimagining, reinventing mentality, and I've always really respected it. So that doesn't sound like a new word, but it sounds like a good focus.
It is. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. I don't always consciously, but I want to be a little more intentional this year because it's different, right? Things are different, and they should be.
It's so easy in this business or any business and just in life to like hold on to what is happening and in the past. And I've just thought you actually do that really well. You kind of let go of those things and embrace the future, which I think is a really healthy thing. I think I find myself hard, like it's hard for me. It's hard for a lot of people. As things change, you like lament the past, and sometimes that goes past like nostalgia. Just lamenting it until nostalgia, and then you're just holding on to it for no reason, and it's irrational.
It's funny you say that. Yesterday, I think it was, I was thinking about things that happened last year, and not in a positive or negative way, just kind of redoing things in my mind. And I'm like, why am I spending so much of my mind energy on stuff I can't change and I can't redo?
True, isn't it?
Like, you can learn from those things, and maybe that's wise to kind of rethink through past experiences to relearn or remind yourself. But some of the stuff wasn't that. It was just kind of like, lamenting, like, if I wish I would have done that differently. But I'm like, I can't do anything about that. The only thing I can do is move forward. So. But it's interesting you say that.
It's so easy to get caught in it. Yeah.
Yesterday, I just had that conversation with myself. That happens a lot, by the way.
Yeah. Did yourself answer back?
Yes.
No, but for real, we need to look back at, I do this too, and I have those conversations too, and I catch myself in it. And I think it's important to learn from what we've done, good or bad. So like when I think it's the intentionality of how we're looking at those things. And so, you know, if we're looking back at it, trying to analyze what happened here, how can I improve, how can I get better, or whatever, you know, from that standpoint, from that focus, then that's good. But I think it very quickly and maybe oftentimes is just an unhealthy habit of, you know, wishing you could change something, or wishing it were like it, where it was, or regret, or, you know, could be any of one of those emotions, but things that I guess I would call them, there are those things that you do and those emotions that you have that have almost no benefit, like worry, right? Like worry has very little or to no benefit. I don't know anyone, like, what actually comes out of worry that's good.
Nothing.
I think, you know, wishing the past was different is one of those, good or bad. But yeah, no, I think that it's so easy to, and especially I see it, you know, in the agency world, right? I know we're going to have an episode talking about marketing and channels and those kind of things, but you see that all the time, like just kind of holding on to what really is a good thing. Like, it might be a tradition that is respectable and valuable, and so there's certainly a balance. And Bob, I don't know what you think about this, but like not being irreverent of the past, right? I mean, you're not like you know, I mean, you can't just whatever, you know. It would sound so cold if we're like, oh yeah, that loved one, you know, you just forget about them after they're gone. That we don't do that, right? But we move on at some point.
Yeah, there's
this kind of balance there.
Yeah, there's a saying, I don't remember who said it, but it's like, we understand our lives in reverse, but we have to live them forward. And I think that's true. It's like, you can only really grasp and understand, and like hindsight's 20/20, right? Like, it's important to look back and go, oh, this was a learning moment. I can look back and say, I got through this time this way. I'm going to get through it again, or I need to not make that same mistake again. But it is a balance, because, you know, worry doesn't really do any good. Now, regret actually can be very healthy, meaning I did something really bad, I regret it, and now I have, if I can lean into that to some degree, it helps me to have empathy moving forward, right? Toward myself and to other people, or to maybe somebody I've hurt. So regret can be a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have any regret at all, or you don't look at your past mistakes, I would say that's unhealthy, meaning like, that's like narcissistic. Like, I don't have any regret, or I just like, I don't care that I screwed up. I'm going on.
Well, I think if you don't have those regret, you just don't have a lot of self-awareness, because I think that none of us are perfect. And we have to understand that none of us are going to be perfect. And it's the only way we learn, to be honest with you, is to have that, you know, that little thing. Not to live in the regret, obviously, because we're all better than that. Like, we're all better than our past. We all can make great decisions. And learn. You know, one of the things that I'm thinking about is, I got a word now, but what's one thing New Year's resolutions I'm not a big fan of, because I typically end up leaving in January. But what is one thing that I'm trying to work on myself this year? And I think for me personally, I'm trying to work on making decisions that are based on my gut, and trusting my gut more than, because I overthink things. And last year I did a pretty good job. I've been working on that for the last couple of years. And last year taught me that I'm not in control a lot of times, or I have to make very quick decisions that I just don't have the time to put the research and energy into. That I have to go with my experience and my gut, that, you know, I have it in me. And, you know, I'm always jealous of those people who just make those gut reactions and they're always right. Like, they're always like, because they trust themselves. And I think it's just that you just got to trust yourself, and that, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, you know, some may say I'm an expert at it, and, you know, but I don't feel that way myself a lot of times. I feel like I'm still learning, and I'm like, I still can't trust myself, but I have to go, you know, research something for 10 hours before I'm able to make one little decision. So that's my actionable commitment this year to myself.
Yeah, and I always want to stress, like, as we're going through these, like, every time, I'm sure you guys have thought through it. I'm curious, what is the action you're going to take to actually make sure it happens, right? I mean, a lot of this, the way I've always thought about this kind of exercise is just helping. It really helps you give analysis to what has happened and how do we want to be intentional about going forward. It kind of forces you to be, in the slightest sense, this is like as small as strategy could be, right? But like in a little bit strategic in your life and in your business, just by taking the time to look back and looking forward, if you do nothing else, and say, okay, here's one thing, one quality, one phrase, one thing I need to remember that will help, that I think will help me be better next year and, improve. But I do think you have to put into action. So
yeah, that's good. How about you, Ken? What's your word or phrase?
I've got two words and one phrase. Because
breaking the rules big time.
Yeah.
Let me help you make a decision with those 2 words. We'll narrow them down to one word.
Actually, it's not. Well, here,
and I'll go with my gut.
I like that. I know which word you're gonna like. I do, so I have a personal word and I have like a business word. For Medicate, the business of what I feel, and you sometimes they're the same in past years, but they're different a lot of times too.
Does that mean 2 different T-shirts? Or just
no. So then the phrase is going to go on the T-shirt.
Oh, got it.
And we can blame everything on coronavirus this year, right? Because the T-shirts are late.
Yeah. Well, last year I blamed everything on coronavirus.
Okay. Well, it's 21, so I guess we can't do that anymore. But the T-shirts are late as of right now, so I don't have it. I mean, usually be wearing it, but in a few episodes I will be. But real quick, I'll say the words. So my words are. For my personal life, my word is clarity, and that's your word from last year.
Last year, yeah.
Steeler.
I know, man.
I'll lease it to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Assets that give a return. So I was debating between clarity and focus, but I think focus is not exactly. Doesn't really embody what I'm feeling. I felt like, and here's how I got to it. As I look back at 2020, and I was sort of, I like all of us, I was overwhelmed with just like changes, and overwhelmed is not the right word, but just like we got hit with a lot of like decisions, changes, things got turned upside down. I think as I get to the end of 2020, I'm starting to realize, or I've been realizing that, okay, a bunch of stuff, it's like we dumped out a box, and we had to, in emergency, make a bunch of decisions. That box is still not, everything's not put back in that box. It's not organized. And that disorganization in my mind, my business, my life, mostly inside of my mind, is not allowing me to make quick decisions based on understanding exactly what I need to focus on, what other people need to focus on, and be a leader that way. Now, I would say I've done it. It's not bad, but I can see where, okay, if I need to reorient things, is kind of where that word comes to. Is like, I think I need to make sure that I have clarity about, okay, here's what I need to do, other people need to do, what we need to do, and have it innate where it was before all this happened. I think, so we've been sort of operating in sort of like a triage mode. And you have to, and I think a lot of people, I think a lot of businesses that I talk to, I know a lot of people that I talk to, they're operating in a triage mode. And I sat my team down. What I mean by that is, like, in life, think about it like you might work from home right now. Have you settled into that office, or are you still on a box, 2 boxes, and your kid's little table chair, have you settled into it? Like, I feel like the reason a lot of us haven't is we're like, this is temporary. We're going to go back to this other way. Now, I'm not saying that we will or won't. I don't know, but I don't think it's happening that way. And so I was actually talking to our team recently and just saying, like, look, we need to move from being in a temporary state mentally to being in a long-term state mentally. And I think what that means is just a shift saying, it's not giving up on stuff. It's just a shift saying, okay, this is a new environment. Let's pull down the duct tape. Let's figure out how this can be a long-term sustainable thing where we are right now, because, temporary, and it means that, we're just this is all gonna be thrown away at some point. So we're not gonna really invest into it. And so, I think that's where, we have to shake off a little of that rust. And I think a lot of people may be feeling that, but my word comes from that is that clarity needs to be a little, I just feel myself like having to shake off some rust and kind of like, make sure that have absolute, clarity on what needs to be focused on at any time. And I just felt like my mind was getting cluttered towards the end of the year with, just the backlog of things that are happening, changing, and then having to be done and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where my word comes from.
That's good.
Business word.
Yes. Phrase.
So is a t-shirt going to say clarity?
No.
Is it a phrase or a word?
I want to hold out
for
on
your
that.
business.
It's a word for my business.
Oh, okay.
For Medicaid. And now the t-shirt's not going to say clarity.
You going to tell us what it's going to say?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The business word is strong. And that's pretty self-explanatory, but I think we're going into a season, or we're in a season where I think it's going to take some endurance. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think there's hope. I think that there's a lot of opportunity. At a certain level, I think it's very exciting. But my gut tells me that no matter what happens, I know we need to be very strong enough to endure, strong enough to act on opportunities. We need to be strong. We need to get stronger. We need to be able to hold strong. That's where the endurance thing comes in. I actually think endurance is a big part of what this next season. I think you as a business, this is my personal belief, should be prepared to endure. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but I just think not being prepared to endure ignores a whole bunch of factors that could happen.
We should probably do a podcast in the future about how
to be
practical ways.
We should definitely do that.
Endure word.
Yeah, how do you actually put into practice some things that will help you endure and mitigate, your vulnerabilities. I think there needs to be a extreme focus on that inside of the businesses and agencies, especially agencies. And, we're talking like all kinds of things are changing on the landscape that has nothing to do with this last year, right? And we keep saying like, marketing platforms is one example of those. So I think there just needs to be this like preparation, and I felt that in our business. And so I just think we need to focus on staying strong, getting stronger in certain areas and being strong. And I think a big part of that is the endurance. And so here's my phrase that's going to go on the t-shirt. It is, winter is my season. Winter is my season.
And you're going to wear that in the middle of summer?
Yeah.
The listening audience couldn't see what Ken just did, but he looked at me. He said it. Say that again in the tone. And then he winked at me like.
And he pointed to himself.
He like, you got that? You got that? I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Winter is my season.
That sounds like something like at the end of
It's like a Wim Hof, the Iceman.
Yeah. He's inspiration for a lot of that.
I like it.
If you don't know of Wim Hof, go watch some of his stuff.
Do you do the Wim Hof breathing method?
The cold is my teacher.
Do you do the Wim Hof breathing?
He has made me realize how important breathing is to a lot of different things. And so I don't know his method off the top of my head. I have done it, but I would say he has caused me to focus on my breathing more. He's very fascinating.
Yes. He's not to get off of Wim Hof, but he's broken all of the rules and science of what human ability is and can do.
To me, Wim Hof, I actually love him for a bunch of different reasons. But he is an example and he is proof to anyone out here listening that your mind can control more than you think it can.
Yes, absolutely.
And that doesn't mean like, oh, crazy magic stuff. But there are things where people didn't realize that, you know, we don't understand the power and connection that our mind has. Mm-hmm. And you think about, you know, all the things in your body that are just happening, breathing, heart pumping, all that kind of stuff. It is happening. Your brain is controlling that. And so anyway, you can tap into things, and your mind is powerful, and it allows you to do really interesting things, and really things that are much stronger than you thought you could.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's broken all kinds of scientific, I don't know, what would they be, assumptions or rules or theories?
Yeah, theories or,
you know. You guys can't see this, but Ken is levitating right now with his mind.
Yes.
Teach me that.
The cold is my teacher. No, winter is my season. It actually, I stole it from another great person, Tony Robbins. He has a phrase. It's actually, technically it's an incantation, not some like black magic stuff or anything like that, but that's what it is. And so I cherry picked it from that. It goes, the first part of it is, I am a gladiator. Winter is my season. This is my time. And it goes on and on. And so that phrase, winter is my season. First of all, right now it's 21 degrees this morning in Nashville. So it's pretty cold right now. So it's a good, I feel it. But it's
21 for year 21.
It's 21 for the year 21.
It's definitely winter.
It's definitely winter. I think it's clearly winter.
It's Ken season
in a lot of senses. Well, here's where that phrase comes from, just to kind of like wrap it up, is it's not arrogantly, it's not meant to be arrogant, right? Like you've got this.
It kind of feels badass.
It does.
I mean, yeah. Can I get one of those shirts?
Oh.
I need something to give me some.
And you're going to like what it's on.
Oh,
you're going to
really?
really like what it's on.
Oh yeah, it's all about the, you know what?
Can you make a special one for me that says summer is my season? Because I really hate winter.
I like easy stuff.
The beach is my season.
I hate winter. Okay. I'm not made for winter. I grew up in New York City, and then I moved to upstate New York for 2 years.
Jeez.
And it broke my will. It completely broke my will. Like the snow literally did. I literally was crying in my driveway one January. I'm not kidding you. And I was crying out of anger, frustration. It's just the snow. It felt like mosquitoes.
That's where you got tough.
You know when you have a million mosquitoes around you?
Yeah.
And like they just keep biting you, and you're just like, finally your patience wears thin, and it just gets to the end of you. You're just like, they broke you. They're just like, just take me away. That's how it felt. And so I don't particularly like winter. It's very annoying. And I think that is where the flip is in this is, there's a couple, I'll just kind of unpack it just for a second, but, one element is, you know, I can do hard things and actually embracing hard things. You know, being and this is cliche in some ways now, and I certainly, this is something that I work towards, but I don't necessarily have, but I do want to embrace like challenges. I want to be thankful for hard things as much as I can. I think that's a good practice to try and be in that. And
you want to push into it and own it.
Yeah, but it also tricks your mind a little bit, because if you're in a hard thing, you're going to be in a hard thing anyway. So you can either hate it or you can enjoy it. There's another guy, I'm just going through him here, but Jocko Willink, he has this little phrase he says to himself, which after anything that's hard, so he's a Navy SEAL and done all these really uncomfortable things, and he would just be like, I guess I have to do it in like with a phrase, but he would be like, "You're soaking wet and uncomfortable. Good. You hate this. Good.
I like.
You
that.
really hate your job. Good." He says it to himself.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'll try that out. I'll say that to myself. It actually, I mean, I don't know. It's like
you think you
magical.
You think your mind can trick your mind?
Absolutely.
I think you have to trick your mind, right?
Yeah, isn't that weird? How you can.
I'm seeing a pattern though with Ken here of all these Enneagram 8 personalities that he keeps gravitating towards.
Yeah. I know they're fun.
I like it though.
It is good.
I'm gonna call you
it's
up.
Fantastic.
I'm
so
today's terrible.
You're
gonna go.
It's really effective. Yeah, it's really effective. I sliced my finger open last week.
Yes.
Good. I had to go to the emergency room. Good. I ruined my day. Good.
Mm-hmm. You survived.
You're reorienting your mind around what it would normally. Your habit that many of us go to is like negativity, anger, like, oh crap, rather than
my life sucks.
Versus like you said, if something good happens to you, you're like, oh good, like, oh, I'm getting a bonus check, or oh, we signed a new client. Good. Your brain is like programmed to like good, bad versus having a bad thing and going, how can I see this as a good thing?
And you know what though too is that like my daughter was working on she's a documentary major, college, and she's working on a video, and I'm like, Vivian, you will learn more. She was frustrated with her video because it wasn't coming together. I'm like, you're going to learn more from producing something of your worst piece and struggling than you ever will on your best piece. And so, we don't understand that that's when we learn. We learn when we fail, right? That's the
it's scary.
And it's scary.
But you have to imagine, the crazy thing is, imagine if you enjoyed that process. You'd be one of some of the most successful people are people that obviously they failed the most, and you could then go to the next step where they're like failure. Maybe they enjoyed failure, because how did they find joy out of their life if like 90% of their life was failure and they finally find the one thing that worked? Yeah. I realize that this is, I don't want to make light of anyone's situations, but I do think that it is an interesting trick to your mind. And I'll go on another thing. Like I heard, actually, it was Tony Robbins who said this, and I thought it was so profound. I just heard him say it recently because a lot of people are in difficult situations, and it's a little bit of a riddle. But he said, the secret to happiness is learning to love the situation you're in. And I heard that, I'm like, that is so true. It flips it on its head, right? But like, but the logic says like, yeah, I mean, if I could just enjoy every situation, of course I'd be happy all the time, no matter what happens. And so obviously we're human beings. We can't just enjoy every situation. There are hard situations, but this idea of tricking your mind to be thankful for it, even if it's hard, and learn from it and get better for it. There are a few things in addition to coronavirus that happened this year to me that like really stretched me. And if I didn't have this intentional mindset, which I'm thankful for, actually got instilled in me mostly last year, which is like, you need to embrace challenges. You need to be thankful for hard things. They will make you look, at the end of a hard thing, typically you look back and say, I wouldn't change that, but it was hard, but I wouldn't change it, right? So it's always hard when you're in it. But knowing that, hey, this is gonna better me at some point after this. That's a good hope.
It's a new hope.
Back last year in early November, obviously you can go back and listen to a podcast, but I got coronavirus, and it was, a couple weeks of really feeling pretty crappy. And but then afterwards I realized that it actually gave me a bounce because I didn't fear going out anymore. I felt like I had a superpower of the antibodies, and so even today I still feel like that's out of my way. I mean, maybe for my family I worry about it because the rest of my family didn't get it. Maybe my wife and stuff, my kids probably will do okay. My son might have gotten it. I don't know. He was asymptomatic if he did, but with that being said, I just felt like it gave me this power. And looking back at it from this distance now, during the time I was like, I don't think this was worth it, to get the antibodies. But now I look at it and I realize that it actually gave me a little step of just one more thing out of my life that I'm thinking about and worried about personally for myself.
And I would say that, again, just high anecdotally, I would be willing to bet that is 90% in your brain, not in your body.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's all in my head. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting because you look at where you are right now, where you're like, I'm kind of glad I got it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you're that level, but like, let's say you are for a second, and then you think of the moment that you heard that you got it, and you probably were like, oh man, like it was probably a lower point. Right?
Yeah, I sunk at that day.
You
I'm
weren't
like,
happy.
well, yeah, I was just like, wah, wah, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now?
For some people, that actually may be, they may be so scared of it that it would be it's a terrifying situation. And you look at those two situations, the only thing that changes is you pass through it.
Right.
Yes. I'm wondering though how I could trick my mind. Somehow something in my mind switched, and I'm wondering if I could mentally do that, like without actually having to go. Like,
I would say there's a couple of things, and I know that we have a short show here. We got to wind it down, but I would say if, in my life experience, if the situation that's happening to you doesn't necessarily harm or hurt another person, but it's only happening to you, I would say almost every all those situations, you can say, what can I learn from this? And I'm going to be better for this. So I'm actually glad that it's happening to me. Right. It's hard to say that, like, if you've done something that affects another person, or like, those are more difficult to, but we all face things every single day that we have the opportunity to be like, oh, this really sucks. Or I just got COVID or whatever. I think
You just say good after it.
Yeah. You just say, okay, good.
I like that.
Here we go. I've survived the worst thing in my life and I'm still here. This obviously doesn't match it, or even if it does, I'm going to get through it again.
Yeah.
I think that tactic has worked well for me. I would love if people try it and let me know.
That and cold water,
cold plunges.
Cold plunges. Wim Hof. Go look it up.
The only thing I'll say at the end of this is the other side of winter is my season is that anytime that like opportunities arise in winter, and so when there's mass challenges and disruption, that's when opportunity arises. And so winter is my season is actually less even about pain in that scenario. If you can set yourself up, and as a business, that's what we try and do. And I think that comes, and we talked about preparing and preparing to endure. But if you can set yourself up to know that winter is when winter comes, I can take advantage of that, not in a bad way, but like advantage of that. Then winter is always your season, right? Like you look at the stock market. When does the stock market ever go on sale?
It doesn't.
It goes on sale when it flops,
right? When
everyone's freaking out. But if you can be ready to
have money to put in there,
have money and put it in at the right time, that kind of thing, like that is. So I think, and those are not all my original ideas. I've acquired, just absorbed them from different people. But that's the other side of that phrase. And so it's almost like it's an energizing thing if you say, so winter is my season. That's when I embrace those hard things, and it's when I'm ready to act, and that's where opportunities happen.
Awesome.
All right, guys, we can all do hard things in 2021.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Hopefully,
guys. Great year ahead. Please like, review, rate. Got some fun guests coming up. So
yeah,
enjoy the new year.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Until next week.
Happy New Year.
Bye. Bye.